Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about something that is a volatile topic, the Scarborough Subway. Now, I've never really dipped my feet into the water here, so please spare me yelling in the comments. Let's all be relaxed and just discuss this thing from the facts. So, the Scarborough Subway replacement plan, the plan we have, etc. Let's start with the facts. It's unnecessary. Currently, there is a route, the Scarborough RT, that runs literally across the entire route that the planned one-stop line, which is the one that, as far as we know, is going to be built. Doug Ford has proposed a new plan. However, I haven't really seen movement on that in months. I'm not sure it will happen, especially with the amount of conflict you see politically between the city and the province. I think the city might actually end up winning out on this one. Nonetheless, irrespective, the Scarborough RT covers 99% of the land that the Scarborough Subway would be covering. So, kind of question number one is, why do we even need the subway? So there is one good reason for a subway. There's only one good reason. Okay, there's two good reasons. One is that the subway would have more capacity, potentially, than the SRT, because the subway platforms and the trains are simply larger than what the stations, and frankly, the width is just much larger than the SRT trains. So technically, yes, the subway would have higher capacity, though not that much higher, because if you remember, the SRT uses the same technology as Vancouver's SkyTrain system, which has a max capacity of about 25,000 people per direction per hour. The Toronto subway is only at 35,000 people per direction per hour, so it's solidly about 70% the capacity. Now, Vancouver SkyTrain also explains exactly how we can make this line modern, fresh, and nice without having to spend $3 billion and actually losing stations on our subway network. Yes, there are a few concerns, because there's a curve at Kennedy and there's a curve after passing Ellesmere Station to the north towards Midland that are a bit too tight for the SkyTrain rolling stock that Bombardier has developed over the years to use. Currently, the issue with the SRT is that it is still using the oldest type of rolling stock, the SkyTrain Mark I cars, which you can see in our SkyTrain videos. There'll be a link to that in the description. Because they're using the oldest cars on the SRT, they're kind of worn down. They're not very good cars. They only have 2 doors per car. The cars aren't interlinked. They feel very narrow. They're just old and clunky. Now, the newest cars are actually very nice. The ones that Vancouver has, the Mark IIIs, again, there'll be a link in the description to go check out what we could have on the SRT. What I envision happening is you're already doing a ton of construction at Kennedy and Eglinton for the crosstown. There's going to be an eastward extension at some point that's going to require more construction. Why don't what you do is simply relocate the SRT station on the land, so perhaps where there's the parking lot just to the south of the current kind of SRT station, you could link up a new set of platforms. There's actually quite a bit of land there. There's not a ton of high density development, so there's plenty of room at Kennedy to add some new platforms such that you can straighten out the curve that's currently limiting us to using these old garbage cars on the line. That would mean that we could use the more modern cars. That's a big win. We have modern cars, and that means we could have quite a bit more capacity since they're a lot larger and they have more doors than the existing cars. Second thing to fix, remove the curve at Ellesmere. Again, this wouldn't be cheap, but this and the Kennedy kind of relocation project combined, I can't imagine them being more than like $1 billion, which sounds crazy. That's a ton of money, right? But we're spending $3 billion to get one subway station, so I have a lot to work with here. Now, imagining that we did spend, say, $1 billion, kind of re-engineering the curve at Ellesmere, We could stretch it out. There's plenty of land. You could even elevate it over the Stouffville line. But you could re-engineer that curve. You could replace the station at Kennedy, and you could actually make the station at Kennedy much more modern. I would point to any of the SkyTrain stations on the Evergreen line in Vancouver as examples of what they could look like, but there's a lot of beautiful, modern, airy designs that we could use for the new Kennedy station. You could also do some work on the existing stations, which actually have some value. A station like Lawrence East, for example. I mean, it's fairly nice to have, because that way Lawrence Avenue actually has 3 stations across its width. Having a station like that is very nice. I'm not sure that the platform is currently long enough for the Mark III SkyTrain cars. However, those platform extensions could happen. There's quite a bit of land available around the SRT stations. I'm not sure what the deal with the Lawrence East GO station on the Stouffville line is, but I'm not really concerned about that happening if we still had the SRT. That being said, since we have so much money, we could spend another couple $100 million to majorly renovate Lawrence East, Ellesmere, Midland, Scarborough Centre, and McCowan. We could basically rip them down to their bare components, rebuild them. I mean, they're essentially, most of them are just concrete boxes. So we could make them look, at least make them look more modern, cleaner. We could put in some nice new text, so some next train screens, some new bus bays, just features of some of the newer stations. We could even put in platform screen doors, which is something that I think would be absolutely fantastic, and would actually turn the SRT into a line that everyone's like, wow, I'm so excited to ride the SRT, not, you know, just the utter depression it is right now. So you could upgrade all the stations, you could rebuild you know, Kennedy and the curve at Ellesmere. You could have new trains. We're still under our budget of the one-stop subway. I don't want to talk about actually extending the line, but given the location of the station at Kennedy being above grade, it is totally possible to extend the line south, which could be worth considering, maybe to the beaches or something like that. You could also continue to extend the line north. Perhaps it could turn off from Scarborough Centre, skip McCowan, and kind of head towards Sheppard, as is kind of planned with some of the Scarborough Subway expansion plans. I do think a station at Sheppard would be useful, because then, yes, eventually you could extend the Sheppard Subway east, and you would have this kind of eastern loop on the subway system. So that's what I would say in terms of extensions. And then finally, you could give the whole OMSF a whole overhaul, clean the whole thing up, make it more modern, expand it to handle the newer trains, and then finally, you could rework the existing trackage. I know there are issues in winter because there's not a ton of room on either side of the tracks to remove snow. So something as simple as a shed with a slanted roof over top of the kind of critical areas where snow buildup is really bad. So you could just have the snow either kind of pile up on top and slide off to the side of the corridor, or you could do something of that length. Building a shed would be relatively cheap in comparison to digging a several kilometer long tunnel for one subway station. Anyways, guys, that was a bit of a rant, but the current plan is just not very good. We have a line. Let's just use the line we have. Let's upgrade it. Let's make it nice. Let's not throw away a pretty good technology. Anyways, if you guys aren't already following us on Instagram, go ahead and do that. Follow us on Twitter and consider supporting on Patreon. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good night.